Okay, so this is day 3 of 100 days of theology. Now, today, just want to chat about a few ways of understanding God, because whether you know it or not, according to the tradition, there's a few ways of doing this. Now, let's go through them as quickly as I can in this moment, all right? So, first up is super being. Some people understand God as a super being, something like Superman. Somewhere up in the sky, you call out and has unlimited power, right? So that's one understanding of God, and maybe that's yours. But there's another one that exists within the tradition, and it's called hyper being, which means God is so far beyond our understanding or comprehension that, you know what? God is at the same time both unnameable, or we have to use as many words as we can. So sometimes people talk about God as the light, or the way, or truth, or infinite love. Like, there's large words that try to grasp towards naming God, but that's a hyper being. God is beyond human language. Third would be ground of being, which is pretty interesting. I think I first came across it from a guy named Paul Tillich, but God is the ground out of which everything exists, which is kind of cool. That's not the same thing as saying there's a God sitting somewhere up on some cloud. It's like, no, God is actually everywhere, and everything that exists, it's like it blossoms or exists while having its roots in God. That's a pretty cool one. Fourth would be God is a verb, and we have an understanding that things exist as beings, or we think that things exist as entities, but we have a hard time saying that something exists as a verb. But this is actually already in, at least the New Testament, where we talk about God is love. So what do we mean when we say that God exists as a verb, right? So that's pretty wild as well. But then the last one, it also comes from Paul Tillich, or I guess so. But God is an ultimate concern. So it might be hard to prove that something exists, such as a God, but you know what? Anything can be your ultimate concern. And so the thing of which you would give up or do anything in order to appease, in order to maintain, in order to grasp or to own, that thing is your ultimate concern. That thing is your, effectively, God. So that right there is 5 ways of understanding God that already exist within the Christian tradition. And I would wager most people only know God as super being. But there's also hyper being, ground of being, God is verb, God is ultimate concern. Now, what's fascinating is that even people who do not define themselves as people that believe in God, they have an ultimate concern. And so in a poetic sense, those people, even though they may not say it, they actually do have a God of which demands all of their concerns. It's their ultimate concern. So when you read parts of the scriptures, pay attention, because each of those senses are kind of being used, and you might have your own favorite as well. So there you go. That's day 3. The types of being of God, I guess. Day 3 of 100. Here we go.